folks, it is 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, all right. I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Sorry we're in the Fairgroove wing tonight. We're doing the best with the situation we have, but I think we'll be okay. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank the Friends of the Tewksbury Public Library for sponsoring tonight's program and sponsoring all our programs here at the library for adults, teens, and kids. We're a very active programming library. We run one, sometimes two programs a day for adults. I will skip my usual spiel and we'll go right into it here. So during this interactive session, discover ways to reshape your relationship with things and learn how you can enjoy more happiness, more freedom from stress, and accomplish more in your life by considering different ways to take control of your space and of your time. You'll come away with real tools and strategies you can use to simplify your life and truly be more with less. We're also coming away with little goodies too, I see. So this evening's class, which is going to go about 60 minutes and then a Q&A, so about probably 75 to 90 minutes total. Today's class is led by Eileen Reed, who's the owner and COO, that's the Chief Organizing Officer, of Simplify with Eileen Organizing. With a 25-year career in office management, sales training, and high-tech staffing, Eileen's organizing skills have been honed by developing effective systems and repeatable processes to maximize time, function, and efficiency. So all 60 of us, let's give a big round of applause to Eileen. Thank you so much, Eileen.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me now? All right. I'll do my best to use a microphone, but I honestly am kind of a shouter. So, and I do like to move around a little bit, so bear with me. But thank you all for making time to be here tonight. You know, in the great Northeast here, we've kind of had a little bit of a lousy spring. Don't know if you'd agree. So to have you sort of take time away from this beautiful evening, I really appreciate your being here. So I like to call myself an organizing and productivity coach. Oh boy, that thing. What we're all about is a simplified life and really how to be more with less. And designing a simplified life, it doesn't mean we show up with a dumpster and you get rid of everything. All right? It's really about choosing what things matter for you, what matters for your space, your life. Identifying things that...
Just don't speak directly into it, pick up your voice.
All right.
I promise.
Thank you. It's not about a life of most, it's not about a life of least, it's really about what's enough, okay? What's enough is really at the core of the work that I do with my clients. It's figuring out how much is too much, what's enough, what's serving you, your life, your space today, kind of forgetting about hanging on to everything from yesterday and stockpiling everything for tomorrow, but really focusing on today. In my work, in 10 years, this is my 10-year anniversary of Simplify with Eileen. In my 10 years working with both homeowners and business clients, what I have seen, what I have been a witness to is just how crushing and suffocating, limiting, and stressful life becomes when we keep piling on more and more. And I've also been witness to how when we uncomplicate and under-engineer and simplify life, just how much better life can be. So yeah, we're talking about organizing, but it's not just the perfect bin, the perfect box, it's so much more. Now, I believe that a simplified life, it gives you the freedom to create a really joyfully full, deeply meaningful, and abundant life. But I gotta admit, I didn't always believe that. So growing up, I was fascinated with France, the French culture. And I think it's because my dad was born in France, and he lived there for about 5 years when he was a young boy. So we would speak French at the dinner table. We called his parents grand-mère and grand-père, and I just was really fascinated with it. When I was a sophomore in high school, I was very fortunate because I had the opportunity to be part of a student exchange program with French students. And in the beginning, I had the French girl, Veronique, come spend a month at our home in the United States. And then I went and I spent a month with that family in France. And it just got me even so much more intrigued with France. Who's been to France? Anybody? Yeah, great. If it was a long time ago, kind of like when I went, you might relate to what I observed. So I noticed that the family, the living space was really uncluttered and clear, kind of like it was intended for people and not things. I also noticed that their closets were really small, and they didn't have as many clothes as we did back here in the States, and they wore their clothes over and over again. I also noticed that their kitchens were tiny and not a lot of storage space. And the mom, she would shop almost every day. She would go to the bakery, the butcher shop, the cheese shop, so they didn't have to worry about storing a week's worth of food, and things were really fresh. And I also noticed that they walked a lot. The family had a car. In the month I was there, I saw them drive it twice. Once to pick me up from the airport, and second to drop me off. We just walked everywhere, or took public transportation. So I was really intrigued with how simple and minimal and efficient their lives were. So I wanted to be a French major when it got time for school. So first of all, here's a picture of me in France in my denim jean jacket at age 16. And it was such a great experience. So I wanted to be a French major when it came time for college. However, I was convinced by everybody around me that it would be much more practical to study business. So 4 years later, I graduated with my business degree, and I found myself like immediately swept up in that whole corporate machine. My job was, I was a very successful sales rep for a software and IT consulting company. And I had great relationships with my clients. I won awards. Here's a picture of me winning Salesperson of the Year about a year or two into the job. And I made sick money, like cuckoo, 6 figures year over year. It's like I was just had a printer at my desk and I was printing money. So it was very intoxicating. And my husband and I bought all the things you're supposed to buy to make you happy, filled the house. And I remember on one trip especially, we went to, it was a sales trip I went to Aruba. Who's been to Aruba? Aruba, it's beautiful. It's just perfection weather. And I remember my husband and I sitting on the beach, and we're under a little sort of thatched roof and sitting in 2 of the most comfortable lounge chairs you could ever imagine. And the sun is dancing on the water, and there's music in the background. We're holding on to these 2 giant, refreshing strawberry daiquiris. And I turned to my husband and I said, man, this is the life. And in fact, 5% of the time, that was the life. The trips, the awards, the money, all that. 95% of the time, you guys, I was so stressed. I was so stressed that I would grind my teeth at night so bad. I got TMJ, and I had to wear this appliance every night to sleep. I suffered from killer migraines. I had wicked high blood pressure. I got pneumonia. I was so run down, and I was flattened for 3 weeks. I remember going to the hospital, the emergency room, 2 or 3 times in my 20s and 30s with racing heartbeats, thinking I was having a heart attack. And I'd wear those Holter monitors so they could study it and all that kind of stuff. I gained a lot of weight. I just became sedentary and inactive. And I lost touch with friends that, just, hey, I just thought that this is what life is like when you're busy and successful. So then my dad got sick very suddenly, totally out of the blue. He ends up in ICU. He had to have surgery. The surgery didn't go well, so he's in ICU. He's got a trach. He can't speak. He's fighting for his life. My mother and our 4 siblings and I are all around his bed in ICU. And there I am saying, hold on, ICU doc. I just need to take this call from a client. And I'll be right back. I just need to set up this consultant interview, or my boss is texting me. And it was like crazy. It was one of those, one of those aha moments where literally it was like I was watching myself on TV. And like in those sort of romantic, drama things, and the girl is saying goodbye to the guy and you're screaming at the TV, no, don't leave him, no. And that's kind of what I saw myself doing as I was leaving my dad to answer an email. So I realized, based on all the health things that were happening to me and how I was treating this moment, that I allowed all that crap to come in. I didn't set up the boundaries and focus on what was really important and say no to the rest. So I knew life had to change. I knew this was not the way my life was supposed to be. So I gave my notice to my corporate job, my 6-figure salary. I gave my notice, and I said, there's something better for me. And I started, and I was 20 years with that company, and I left. And I started Simplify with Eileen. And I really started simplifying my life, like really working on it. I would read up on and attend workshops and seminars around organizing and productivity. And I'd follow some of those thought leaders in like the minimalism and less is more type world. And my husband and I, we had 2 yard sales. We sold some stuff online. We gave things to family and friends. We donated a ton. Like, we really simplified our stuff. But I also started realizing and recognizing that I had to make the decision of who I wanted in my life, because you can declutter relationships too. So I got really clear on who was adding value to my life and started spending time with people who were more aligned with how I wanted my life to be. I started getting more active. I lost the weight. I no TMJ gone. My blood pressure is perfect. I haven't had a migraine since. And more importantly, I was able to be there for my mom, because my dad did pass away really quickly after that. So I made the decisions to focus on what's important and declutter my life. And I love the life I live. Now please, I am not suggesting that any of you just go to work tomorrow, quit your job, haul a dumpster up and get rid of anything. Please, no. I just simply wanted to share with you what my path was, how I came to do what I do and to be here tonight to talk about it. I will, however, suggest that you do listen to those little whispers from your soul. And sometimes they're screams from your body. And really consider a life of more simplicity and ease, a life that's more with less. So that's kind of how I came to be here. Now let's get to the real good stuff. As I mentioned, I was studying and reading up and going to workshops. And I don't know if any of you remember, but years ago on TLC, there was a show called Clean Sweep. And it was hosted by a cute Australian guy, Peter Walsh. Anybody remember that show? It was awesome. Loved it. So Peter Walsh is one of the organizing industry kind of gurus. And what he says is, clutter is not just the stuff on your floor. It's anything that's standing between you and the life you want to be living. Now, that's got something there. It's pretty powerful when you think about it. So, what I'd like to ask you, just for some shout outs, this is the audience participation part. What are some other kinds of examples of clutter that aren't things? Your brain, your noggin, absolutely. Brain clutter, that's huge. Anyone else? Other examples of clutter? Way in the back, yes?
Having to go in many directions, like picking this kid up and that kid up and getting really...
Yes, obligation, calendar clutter, you bet, absolutely. Could we maybe agree that there's financial clutter? Like maybe so many credit cards you can't even keep track of, blah, 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 and you're paying bills late. I mentioned earlier relationship clutter. You know, you got those sort of negative Nancys or hanger-oners, those people who just add zero value. You know, they give nothing, they take all, and they just leave you feeling just gross and sapped. There's all kinds of different clutter. Cluttered expectations, noise clutter. I did a little video on my YouTube just about in my car. Oh, I cherish silence. No radio, no music, no nothing, just silence. Really gives you a chance to connect with yourself and think. So perceptions, obligations, all kinds of clutter. And a lot of times, all those other kinds of clutter, your brain, your calendar, all those other kinds of clutter, those are sort of the things that lead to the stuff clutter. So a lot of my work with my clients is really exploring sort of those other causal effects of why there's like a big pile in the corner. So I'd like to demonstrate for you just what I mean when I say like less is more and simple, your life is easy. And to do that, I'm going to need 3 volunteers. Anybody brave enough to come up here? I swear it's really simple, but 3 volunteers. Who's going to join me? Oh, come on now. Come on now. Come on up. Yep. We'll stand right here, all right? Just scooch a little bit over there. I've got 1, I need 2. Come on, number 2 and number 3 in the back. All right, scooch on up here, and you might be better to go around the big pole here. I'm going to ask you to hold this and not look at it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right, you can scooch towards me, and please hold this, but don't look at it. No peeking, no peeking. And our number 3, if you can hold that, please, and don't peek, s'il vous plaît. Throw a little French in there. Okay, so the instructions are wicked easy. On each of your sheets of paper are a series of numbers. All I want you to do is take the pen and connect the numbers in sequential order. 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Okay? When you're done, just, flip your thing over and say, I'm done. Try not to discuss with one another, okay? Do you have any questions? You look petrified. You look absolutely petrified.
It seems too simple.
Okay. All right. So, okay, let's go have at it. So just connect your, oh gosh, I'm gonna burn a retina. Oh, you need, the pen didn't come with it? Oh, shoot, I've got a pen. How unorganized of me. Let me know as soon as you're finished. Connecting 1 to 2, 2 to 3, up until the last number. Okay. Oh,
I went too far.
2 people are done. Wowee. Okay. Okay. Yep.
Just
Are you still working?
Well, I thought you wanted it all done.
I did want it all done, but
You
that's
just
okay.
said 4.
What's that? I said connect the numbers. Yeah.
Come on.
All right.
I'm still here.
Sorry, that I should have said for an example, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Keep going. All right. So I'm going to ask you to stop wherever you are, and let's see. What's your name?
Joyce.
Joyce. Okay. This is what Joyce's sheet. Oh, sorry. Sorry, we're going to start with you. I'm sorry, what's your name, sweetie?
Patty.
Patty. Patty. So this is what Patty's look like. There were 25 numbers, and they were willy-nilly all over the place. Yeah, show them what it looks like. Yep. Nothing was organized. They were just scattered about. There was 25, a lot of numbers. So, I don't know, like this could maybe represent your closet. Maybe Patty was looking for her favorite gray sweater, and she's going through everything and can't find it because just there's a lot of stuff and it's unorganized. All right, what's your name?
Christina.
Christina. Here's what Christina's look like. Okay, a little easier. Now Christina had the same 25 numbers as Patty, but hers were organized. So let's say this is Christina's closet, and she's looking for that gray sweater. That's very pretty. That's way prettier than mine. She's clearly an artist. So much easier to find that gray sweater, get out the door, and start your day. And your name is Joyce?
Yes.
Joyce's. Okay. Joyce did not have 25 numbers, she had less. She had 10. And they were organized. Game changer. This is Joyce's closet. Takes her 1.5 seconds to find her favorite gray sweater that's probably organized by color, if I know you, Joyce. And she's able to get out and be productive and seize the day. You don't get that like glazed over look when you fling open the closet and it's like, holy Mother Mary, what's in here? Everything everywhere. So, thank you very much. Thank you for volunteering. See, that wasn't so scary. Thank you. We'll put that right on there. Thanks so much. But just an example, an illustration of how when you have less and it's organized, life can be a lot easier. Now, in my 10 years working with clients, I've kind of discovered 2 very common things. Almost without exception, all of my clients have enough space. And almost without exception, all my clients have too much stuff. All right? But in our world, in our culture today, everything seems to work against us because all we hear from our consumer, marketing-driven society is buy more, buy bigger, buy more often. If 2 are good, 10 are awesome. Get the latest, get the greatest. Wait, you have an iPhone 4? What? Get the greatest, we're up to 10 now. So this fuels this accumulation of so much stuff. But too much is too much. And it's really almost less about organizing and more about having less to organize. So here are some stats that I love to pull out so you know it's just not Simplified with Eileen making all this stuff up. So we consume twice as many consumer goods today as we did 50 years ago. Now that's a relatively short time, 50 years, to double our consumption. In those same 50 years, the size of the average American home has tripled. McMansions, right? Show of hands. How many people in here have at least one television in their home? Now, keep your hands up if you have 2. Keep your hands up if you have 3. How about 4? All right. The average American home has more televisions in it than people living in it. 1 out of 10 Americans rents off-site storage. You see those things popping up everywhere. That is the fastest growing segment of the commercial real estate market. Storage. And they have attics, they have basements, they have garages, yet they still rent off-site storage. So another thing, just not about stuff so much, is that the average American burns 55 minutes a day looking for things they know they own, but they can't find. Where are my keys? Where's that check? Where's the invitation? Where's the sleeping bag from last year? Like, that's almost an hour a day. How'd you like to have that time back? Time is so precious and so valuable, we really can't afford to squander it. So, I want to show you another example here of just where too much is too much. Times Square, New York City. Who's been? Okay. What do you see when you go to Times Square? Throngs of people. So many. What else do you see? Yellow cabs. Everywhere. Too much is too much. These signs. You guys, there are over 6 square blocks of 100 blinking, scrolling, giant colored digital billboards in Times Square. You can't even, you miss, you know, this, you almost go blind to it because there's so much, you miss more than half of it. So you might also see the naked cowboy, right? All right. What do you hear when you're dropped in the middle of Times Square? Oh, it's just like a cacophony. You hear horns blaring, you hear people talking, sirens, fire and ambulance screeching by. You also hear these billboards because now they're audio too. So they're blaring messages at you. Maybe you hear the song of a street performer on the corner too, just to sort of lessen it a little bit. What do you smell in the middle of Times Square? Mm-hmm. What else?
Exhaust.
Sorry?
Car exhaust.
Car exhaust. The bus goes by and you're choking on a cloud of bus fumes. How about that acrid stench that sort of wafts up from the subway entrance? That's a nice one. Maybe you smell some pizza from the corner pizza shop. And then, how do you feel in the middle of Times Square? Nervous, small, swallowed up. What else?
Excited?
Sorry?
Excited?
Excited. Yes, there's definitely excitement. What else? Overwhelmed. Kind of a little like nervous, a little anxiety. Sometimes it's sort of that little sort of instinct of distrust as you pull your purse a little closer, or just the sometimes you can feel so alone in that sea of people too. So, hey, to go visit, awesome, exciting, thrilling, woo, loud, visual, but living in that environment, it actually assaults all of your senses. It's draining, it's suffocating, it's choking, it's chaotic, it's overwhelming. And so much of that when you really stop and think about it, so much of that is in our everyday lives. That's when we talk about all the different kinds of clutter. So we're going to bring it down a little bit. I want to share with you a couple of examples of clients I've worked with and the types of projects. So we'll get it a little bit smaller scale. So this is one of my clients in their garage, their 2-car garage, and they moved in probably a year prior, but there's still boxes unopened, just languishing in the garage, haven't quite gotten to them. They have the intention of bins, the good intention, but just never quite got around to taking the time to organize. So here's a really interesting stat. 25% of people with 2-car garages cannot fit either car in the garage. Now we live in New England, y'all, okay? And we got snow and ice and windstorms and branches falling and all that. And we choose to put our $30,000 to $60,000 vehicle outside. And inside we got an old bicycle and some empty bins and some things. You know, the garage has become sort of a purgatory of just, you know, delayed decisions and things that are old, but we haven't had the maybe courage to just let them go. And if you've probably added up all the value of what's in the garage, it's maybe like about, I don't know, maybe $1,000 if we're generous. And outside, there's our poor $40,000 car with ice all over it. So, sort of using our space wisely, the space we do have is a really big part of what I do, optimizing the space. So here's our after, very nice, and they have the entrance right into the house, right off the garage, like, game changer, love that. And it didn't take much. We didn't have to buy anything fancy schmancy. You'll notice all the hockey sticks and those things, they're in an old trash can. You don't need to go to Container Store and buy like, you know, some wicked expensive bin. So, this is my client, Joe. Now, Joe has a small IT consulting company, and this is his home office. He operates his business, it's just him out of this office. Now, this is one of the largest desk systems I've seen. It's from IKEA. It's awesome. It has so much storage. But over time, he wasn't going through and taking things out of the old things out so that new things were piling up on top. And he ended up not being able to work in there, so he took his laptop, went to the island. Mrs. Joe was not terribly jazzed about that, okay? So we spent quite a while. He's also a technology guy, so he was loved to keep all the cords and gadgets and connectors and all that kind of stuff. So we thinned things out dramatically. Look at that. Oh, one of my proudest things. So he, you know, not only can he work in there, but he feels so much better in there. Man, he feels like he's proactive instead of just reacting. He feels in control. He feels like he's on top of his game. Now, an interesting thing that we found while going through this whole process was right there in that middle little thing there. Wedding ring. Yeah, Joe lost that 6 years earlier. And a year after he lost it, he'd given it up and he went out and he replaced it. So this was like a really cool find. He was psyched. Mrs. Joe was even more psyched. So a lot of good things happen when you pay attention to organizing. Now, there is such a thing as too big is too big. And I'm gonna just put it out there, guys, that these massive warehouse stores, like if you've got maybe 7 kids, and like a lot of them are like boys and they pound through stuff real fast, like maybe these things make sense. But for the average American family with 2 kids, they actually end up creating problems because our cabinets, our cupboards, our pantries, our refrigerators, they're not designed to accommodate the scale of the massive 40-pack of paper towels. So what happens is, now everything's spilling out. You can't jam those bad boys in any one of your cabinets. And so things are spilling out. Or you're spending money on shelving for the overflow in the garage or down in the basement. Because where are you going to put these things? So the second challenge with these big, giant warehouse stores is just the cost of waste. Now, your kids say, we are into, oatmeal. We love oatmeal. So you go to Costco and you buy the 40-pack multi-thing of oatmeal. There's 3 different flavors because you can never get just the one flavor you like. They always give you the multi-variety pack. So a week later, ho-hum, they are so over oatmeal. Now they're into smoothies or egg sandwiches, and now you have dying a slow death in the back of your pantry, 34 packs of oatmeal. Because let's face it, tastes change. Our intentions are so good. We want to get things for our family. We want to give them choices. We want to show them we love them, right? But I would just encourage everybody to scale it down. Now, Laura, one of my clients, she and her husband are Costco people. They have 2 kids, teenagers, and we went through her pantry. We pulled everything out and put it on the island. We filled 4 huge green trash bags full of uneaten, unused, out of date, half opened, just food. And honestly, she was almost in tears. She was so mad at herself for the utter waste that happened in her own home. So she and her husband have decided they're not going to Costco every week like they used to and bringing home the 3 massive packs of water, because they really go through like 1 a week. So they're now going to go to Costco once a month, and they're really dialing it back. And that was just a real eye-opener for her about the waste that happened in her own home. And I bet if we really looked at our own pantries and refrigerators, we'd find some kind of scary, fuzzy, weird, I don't even remember what that was, stuff. So, there's also the National Defense Council, and this is like super shocking. I've done this presentation years ago, and I checked again, and the stats still hold. National Defense Resources Council says that the United States, 40% of food in the United States goes uneaten. Uneaten. Now, it either spoils at the source, the fields and the farms, maybe it spoils in the distribution channel, maybe it spoils on grocery shelves, but it sure also does spoil in our own homes. So, consider less is more. Now, this is my client Sarah's playroom. It's awesome, it's giant, it has built-in storage. It's in the basement. And so Sarah has 2 little ones, like 2 and 3. And what she found is that they would never want to be down there without her. And that just wasn't really kind of working for her, it wasn't practical. And she also found that when they were in there, they were overwhelmed and kind of overstimulated. They sort of just kind of, touched everything, didn't really play with anything. It was just overwhelming. Now, we've got the aerial view, 5'2", you can see over it, but if you're a little 1.5 foot tall dude going in there, like just imagine the perspective and how daunting that is.
You're in Times Square.
You're in Times Square in your own basement, yes, exactly. So, here's another stat. America has 3% of the world's children. Just 3% of all the world's children live live in the United States. We purchase 41% of the world's toys. Like, can anyone do the math there? What? No wonder playrooms across America look like this. So Sarah and I spent probably about 3.5 hours. We went through, we loaded up my car 2.5 times to donate toys and games and animals and stuff. She sold a couple of higher value things online on Facebook. And what she's noticed is that the kids, here we go, after, okay? The kids can see what they have. And she knew what they liked. She's the mom, she knows. She knew what they were playing with. So they really play longer and more completely with the toys. They don't need her down there all the time. They're more comfortable. Now, it does not always look at this like this at the end of the day. And there's no such thing as perfect. Forget Pinterest, forget Pottery Barn, but it always looks better than it used to. So, and then too much of a good thing. There's our tech box. I might need that, 1964 remote or something, it might come in handy, or that cord, that HDMI cord might, technology changes so fast. Get rid of the stuff. Just get rid of it. If you ever need it, go out and get it. But Tupperware, that's the other thing. Too much of a good thing. Honestly, let go of the stained, cracked, the ones that are orphans, the top doesn't have the bottom doesn't have the top. Keep it simple. And this is my client Laura. She's very, very into fitness, and she works out a lot, and she, just had all these, bra inserts for her sports bras, and she was like, holy crow, you know what? I mean, they're taking up valuable real estate in my drawer. She chose her favorite, white, nude, and black. So, it's all good. Just when you have less, it's less to clean, it's less to manage, it's less to pick up, to arrange, to rearrange, to step over. It's just better. And then, we talked about this, too busy, too many obligations. I told so-and-so I'd be on the committee, and, my boss gave me another project, and I didn't say no, and, Mary wants me to pick up, her kid too. So, Dolly Parton has a really good quote. She says, never get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life. All right, let me ask you here. Show of hands. Who feels that you have more time than you know what to do with? Gobs and gobs and gobs of time. Okay, we've got one. Nothing but time. Awesome. Good for you. Who here feels like I have just enough time to get it all done? Just enough? I don't have a second more. Okay. Another one person. Who feels there are simply not enough hours in the day? Oh my gosh, I cannot get it all done. Hands up, throw them up. Yeah. So the truth is, we all have the exact same 24 hours a day. The magic happens, the trick is how we choose to use those 24 hours. Now, yes, we all have different circumstances, and yes, we probably have a bunch of excuses too, but I am here to tell you that busy does not mean successful, busy does not mean happy. And if you do not choose how to use your time, trust me, there's a lot of people around you who are going to choose it for you. So, setting boundaries and all that, I do a whole workshop, a 2-hour workshop on decluttering this, setting boundaries and mastering the art of saying no. It's such a beautiful thing. So that'll be up on my website if anybody's interested. But once we decide to believe what really matters to us, our family, our business, our lives, once we decide that, then it actually becomes easier to say no to anything that doesn't fit that bill. All right. And there's another I don't know who Judy Brown is. Does anybody know who Judy Brown is? don't know her, but love this quote. What makes a fire burn is the space between the logs, a breathing space. You pack too many logs in there, too tight, it's gonna put the fire out. Like, how well does that translate to life? You know, we've kind of lost the value of lingering and relaxing and just being, creating, connecting. You know, we're always like on the phone or doing something or, you know. So when we pack our lives so tightly, we end up like repelling opportunities, new relationships, possibilities. Maybe we don't see the ability to take our business to the next level. We would invite so much more of everything good into our lives if we created the space for it. So, now, how do we do it? Right? So I've got 5 keys, and also I'll have available to you, I can email you all my 10 tips for getting organized, because I want you to be able to get, you know, tangible stuff. But the 5 keys to simplifying. As in many things, the why is really what's important. Like when you figure out why you want to have less, why you want to simplify, that's the fuel for the how. That's what's going to help you stick to it. Like, example of some common whys of clients I've worked with. There was Lisa. She and her husband worked full-time. He was a chef, so he worked in the evenings. She worked downtown Boston. She worked during the day. They have 3 little girls. And we worked on their playroom, which is sort of playroom/office. And it was a source of such stress and bickering for Lisa and her husband. And so her why was less friction and less arguing. And that night, after we totally decluttered the playroom, she emailed me and said, this is the first time in I don't know how long we have not argued about the playroom. Okay, so I'm clearly a relationship coach too. But there was another client, Maureen. She used to love to entertain. That was her thing, having people over to her home and putting on big parties and dinners. And over time, things in her life changed, and her home just got very, very cluttered. So her why was she wanted to feel proud to invite people into her home again. So I'd invite you all to really kind of think about your driving why. And if you keep that close by, it makes the rest of it so much easier. Now, number 2, less is not nothing. Nobody's going to tell you, I certainly am not going to tell you what to get rid of or to get rid of all. You decide. You decide for today, for you, your family, your space, your life, what's enough. What brings you joy? What are you using? What's adding value to your life? Anything that's not, let it go. Let it serve somebody else. Because just sitting down in the basement in a box collecting spiders, who's that helping? Not you and not the rest of the world. And number 3, so slow and steady change is really going to be more sustainable than a fast and furious attempt. Consider simplifying and organizing. Consider it like an adventure, a process, a journey. I am still simplifying. I still go back 10 years later and revisit areas, and my criteria becomes a little more ruthless, or maybe it's just changed a little bit. But I can continue because there's not a big period at the end of organizing or simplifying. It's ongoing. And then small progress is still progress. I invite you to celebrate every small step. It doesn't have to be, honey, we're taking this entire weekend and we're going through the garage. How much fun is that, right? You got better things to do with your time. Remember we said time is so valuable? So take little chunks, little bites. Let's just tackle the left side of the garage for an hour. Let's just do that. And then when you're finished, woohoo, you got a toss pile, you got a donate pile, you know, then have your cup of coffee, or then go out to breakfast or something. Let's celebrate those small wins. You start stringing together a lot of those small little steps, and before you know it, the garage is reclaimed. But you'll choke if you try and take it on all at once, and it won't be very fun. And then, number 5. This is true. This is true. Holding on is so much harder than letting go. You have to hold on every day with your time, your money, your attention, your energy. You're moving, you're shifting, you're cleaning, you're shoving it because people are coming over, then it's shoving out. Holding on is hard. Letting go, you let go once. And it's freeing. And it's easier than you think. And then what do you get when you simplify? How much time do we have? Because I could talk about this forever. So just real quickly, you get clarity. You get to see who and what is important to you. Who and what adds value to your life. I talked about it. I decluttered some relationships. I got rid of a lot of stuff so you get clarity. And then freer space, sure. In a physical sense, think about your home. You come home at the end of a long day. The world has just chewed you up and spit you out. You've gone through the ringer. Your home should be a place where you can restore, relax, re-energize, recharge. And if it's, a place that is just causing anger and stress and frustration, and you're not proud of it, and it just doesn't feel like a place that is a safe haven from the world, think about how it should. Health. What we find is that oftentimes those who live more simply enjoy better health. You kind of just, now that you're not managing all your stuff, you start becoming maybe a little bit more mindful of what you're eating, how much you eat, how much you're moving your body, how much stress you let into your life. And, so health improves. And then presence. This was a big one for me and my mom. I was able to be so much more present with her, like really with her, connecting, not head buried in phone, answering emails and just distracted her. So, and that ties in with the relationships. Again, you find those connections that now we're just kind of bumping along. You come home and it's just, it consumes you. It sort of stops you from really sort of enjoying relationships and being present. Joy. So, Olivia, one of my clients, she lived in a 2-bedroom condo, and it was just really very, very cluttered. She had a time in her life where she had some problems, and when we got to the end of those sessions of really reclaiming her condo, I tell you, she had book club over at her house. She actually joined 2 book clubs. She volunteers at her church. She started doing yoga, which she had loved to do years before. And my favorite, now that the space was really kind of clear, she adopted 2 older black cats. And before they would have been, forget the kids in the playroom and the 1.5 feet tall. Think about your pets, little guy, and all they see is stuff. So she really has found so much more joy by simplifying and by having less. It's possible. And then appreciation. When you have less, you actually appreciate what you have more. You can enjoy it. You use it. Okay, these black pants here, go online, look at every presentation I've done. I pretty much am wearing these black pants. I love them, and I don't care. I don't need 14 pairs of skinny black jeans. Like, I got the ones I love. I appreciate them. I wear them. And you'll find you do the same when everything sort of gets out of cloud of clutter and let the cream rise to the top. Appreciate them and use them. So really when it comes down to it, oh, we're doing great on time. What I invite you to do is really think about what is enough. What is enough as far as obligations? How many committees can you be on when you're running yourself ragged and you got nothing left at the end of the day? How much stuff do you want in your home? Think about what's enough for you, your life, your family, your business. And I hope I've been able to show you through not only my journey, but through some of my clients, just how much of the world opens up to you when you do define what's enough. I'd like to open it up for questions, but first, what I'd like to do to thank you for sharing your time with me is I'd like to invite you to go a little bit further in defining what's enough for you. And as thanks for being here tonight, I'm having what we call a decluttering burst. It's a wicked fun exercise that we'll do in a couple of weeks. I'll send you all the information on it. I normally charge for it, but for everybody here today, I will offer it for free. It's super fun. It really starts getting you going on tackling an area to declutter. What I'd invite you to do if you're interested is just whip out your phones, and if you pop onto my website, as soon as you get on, like a few seconds, you'll see a little pop-up that says join my mailing list. If you join my mailing list before the end of tonight, you can do it when you go home if you don't have your phone or whatever, but I encourage you to do it. I will send you all the information on the Decluttering Burst Challenge. I'll also send you 10 tips for getting organized. And together, kind of we can have our own little community and go through this decluttering burst together. Wicked fun. You'll be amazed at what you're able to accomplish. You'll learn some techniques of how to make those decisions to let go. So I think you'll really enjoy it. If anybody doesn't have a phone, you can also come up old school. You can pass this around if you want. Thanks. You can sign up to get the information by email. We'll pass that around. So, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear any challenges you have or successes, any questions. Bring it on.
So you just sign up for the email.
Just sign up for the email, yep, and I'll send you the information on the Decluttering Burst Challenge.
Decluttering burst.
You don't know how to sign. Do you have email? All right, so if you don't know how to do it on the phone, we're going to send around a sheet of paper. Just fill your email in, and I'll email you the information. You don't get email.
I can't even get it on the computer.
We'll talk after. All right, who's got some questions? Stump the organizer. Yes?
What about things that might have value that you want to sell? Are there some places that are better than just a Craigslist?
Sure. So the question is, what about some items you have that might be of value and you want to sell? So Craigslist is not my go-to. I will go to a lot of the, if you're on, again, if you're on social media, Facebook has a marketplace. I do well there. There's also these next door communities. Wherever you live, there's a community in your town of, it's called Next Door, but there's also specific Facebook yard sale sites for Wakefield, for Tewksbury, for Linfield. Also, if you're trying to figure out the value of something, one of my favorite little hacks is to go to eBay. eBay, I'm not going to sell it on eBay because it has to be something small enough that you can mail or ship. But I'll go on and I'll search for that item. Maybe it's like Ralph Lauren comforter. Okay, it's a specific comforter. I'll go onto eBay and search for that Ralph Lauren, holiday comforter, and I'll look for only the search results of what's sold. Because people can ask anything they want as a, for sale. I'm interested in what things sell for. So that's a great thing to do. And what's the other one? Everything but the house. Yeah, everything but the house is another great resource for finding selling information if you want to sell it yourself. But they also, like if you're moving, you can have them come in, they will auction off everything that you are not taking with you. It's pretty cool. So I tend to, instead of a Craigslist, I try and look a little more local, because I just think there might be less scary people local. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, in the back, my friend. Okay, how do you get rid of your mother's or grandmother's stuff, the sentimental stuff, right? So, I believe that nobody in your family who loves you wants you to be buried and smothered by things that you don't like, you don't use, and you don't need. They love you. And just because your mother liked those country duck curtains, just because she liked them doesn't mean you're obliged to keep them. They served her. They were her choice. She had them in her home. They did their trick. So it's just, we have to be practical. Because a lot of the stuff from our mothers and grandmothers, man, that stuff was built to last. It's going to outlive all of us, like that mahogany table, right? But the thing is, if you can donate that, there's somebody out there who is just dying for a set of country goose curtains. You know? Donate it. If it's just sitting in the back of a closet, stuffed in a drawer, or jammed in the corner of a basement, is that really honoring your mother or grandmother? Why not pay it forward? Donate it. Let it serve somebody who just came out of a flood or a fire, or, there's 1,000 reasons that people need things. And do believe, do know in your heart of hearts that nobody would really want you to be hanging on to stuff that is just weighing you down. Do you need more on that? Okay. All right.
Photos and stuff like that.
Oh,
You
all
know,
right.
like I have my grandparents' photos and my parents' photos, because I'm the next one in line, bins of photographs.
God bless you. Yeah. So photos, first of all, I encourage, if you're going to be tackling things, photos is the marathon. That's the 26-mile run. You want to work up. You want to start with lower hanging fruit, easier stuff. Start building your chuck muscle. So start with Tupperware, start with coats, start with a garage, start with easier things, because that's like trying to just run out of here and run a 26-mile marathon. You'll die. So, but what to do with them? So there are lots of companies who will sort of aggregate and put on a thumb drive or on a CD or disc or whatever, or sometimes they'll even put them in like lovely albums. It costs money. But here's the truth too. Unless you are looking to do some like major genealogical thing for your family and everyone's like, yeah, Sue, do it, yeah. If those photos meant something to your grandparents, we don't even know who these people are, right? I mean, for real. So half of them are, maybe not relative, maybe they are. But those were pictures that meant something to your grandparents. They served your grandparents. They brought them joy. They did the job for your grandparents. Just because they were your grandparents, it doesn't mean you're obligated to now stockpile them. So, and with your parents, and the thing is too, remember when we were all taking photos and we'd get the double and triple copies? And out of the 24 photos, only 6 of them are good, because half are out of focus, you're blinking, you're moving. So you know, you can sort of really do a first pass and whip through a lot of those, but think about the next generation too. One of my biggest things is that the greatest gift that we can give to our children, to the next generation, is to go through this stuff now, ourselves, when we can make the decisions, instead of leaving it to our grieving kids and family, who they're just gonna be, you know, going through this while they're crying, and like, you can't throw out mom's thing, so that's gonna move to her garage or her basement, and then that whole cycle continues. We can't expect more from a thing than to serve the person who bought it, or serve the person who took the photo, or serve the person who made it. I mean, it's a thing. The memories, the intentions, the experiences, those are the things that matter, whether or not that thing is still in our basement or not. I know it sounds kind of ruthless, but I'm telling you, it's gonna cut down on the self-storage, and it's gonna cut down on the grieving family. Yes, with the glasses.
I do a lot
Oh.
of scrapbooking.
Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. Oh, gosh, oh, sorry. This lady in the fourth row, and then I'll come to you, I'm sorry. We both have glasses.
Appraisals, but I know I go on to Craigslist or I go on to eBay or I try to figure out what the values and things like post it on Craigslist or next door. But when I have a collection of something and I want to appraise, I have a general idea it's worth worth, but like, for example, when I was younger, I used to collect silver certificates of dollars.
Oh, sure.
So how do you know, how can you find somebody trustworthy that you can pay by the hour, that you can say, okay, I'm going to have to sit with them, make sure they don't have anything in their pocket or line or something?
So, a lot of times just ask for referrals. I mean, just ask people around you. Do you know a good pneumologist? I think that's what those money people are. Or maybe those are stamp people. But do you know somebody who knows the value? A lot of times I'll know that. You can always, just email me and ask me. I have a ton of resources just developed over the years. But, so you want to talk to people who've had experience with people versus maybe just like a Yelp or something like that. So even just put it out on Facebook, like, hey, who knows, you're looking for a recommendation, ISO, search up. Who knows a really, good reputable person who can help me determine the value of my silver certificates. And do a little calling around. Collections, though, may I just say something about collections? So, collection, truly a definition of a collection is that it's really something very specific, like my husband, opposites attract, my husband has a collection of 78 rock and roll 78 RPMs that were pressed between 2 years, like 1969 and 1970, something like that. It's a true collection because it's finite, it's specific. It's not just his record collection, like all his albums from when he was in his teens. That's not a collection, that's just a lot of records, okay? So we want to be just a little careful when we think like, I've got this awesome collection. Sometimes it's just a lot of records. Yeah. I'm going to go to the lady in the back and then I'll come to you. Everybody with glasses. You had another question?
Yeah, well, what I do with my photos is I do a lot of scrapbooking.
Yes.
And you cut them down to where you want to put them in there, so you're not putting only a few photos on a page.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done one with each one of my children so they can see through the years different things that they've done and what they've accomplished in school and what we've done in a family, type thing.
That's
So it's
awesome.
just one unit.
If you can get their life condensed into one lovely scrapbook, lovingly prepared and culled. So here's our Disney trip in '78, and here's your graduation, and here's your baptism. Like one picture of each thing, beautiful. That's awesome. That's awesome. I could never do that, but yeah. Yes.
That's similar to what I was trying to suggest, especially with your grandparents and your parents. pictures, there are pictures that I can remember that they had.
Mhm.
So for me, it was worth going through and curating it into my brother when he did something crazy, and that picture took us all right back to it.
Yeah.
And then there's all the pictures that especially my grandfather would take of his garden, like,
Mhm.
get it, you had a garden that year, and this year, and that year, you know.
Right.
So we just curated it kind of in a circle. Like, first I went through, because I was the keeper of everything, and I said, this is what I would keep. And then my sister pretended she was going to, and she never did. She
Yeah.
passed it on to my brother.
Yeah.
And that way, everybody had a chance to go through it, but nobody got stuck keeping it forever.
That's awesome. Yeah. Share the wealth. You know, I'm sort of the person in my family, they always want me to be the project manager. I got, project manage, Easter dinner and project manage mom's birthday. And sometimes, because I've become very attached to the word no, just because I'm good at it doesn't mean I like it. Doesn't mean it brings me joy, doesn't mean that it's in line with how I want my life to be. So I say no, they're for you. Somebody else step up.
How do you deal with perfectionism? Like I have OCD, and not a bad case of OCD, but everything's got to be perfect and lined up. But my basement looks like a bomb went off because I'm procrastinating because I can't get it perfect.
Right. So here's the thing about perfect. Perfection does not exist. And you will drive yourself crazy trying to chase the elusive ghost of perfection. Better we look for excellent, great, good, done. That's better, but I understand that, some people legitimately, they are paralyzed, but if it can't be perfect. But I think for, the majority of us, again, this ain't Pottery Barn. We're not living in a Pinterest, fabricated world. Just getting it done and getting it better. Like, again, Sarah's Playroom does not look like our transformation day every day, but it's done and it's pretty good. And it's way better than it was. So let yourselves off the hook. Just, small wins, just tackling the basement. Okay, I'm just gonna tackle the foot of the stairs. I'm gonna spend a half an hour just so I can clear a space at the foot of the stairs. Like, awesome, but just little bites, little chunks. And good enough is good enough. Yeah. Yes, in the back, I'll get back to you again. Yes, you, yes, hi.
One of my professors told me, because I have a perfectionist tendency, that 95% is still an A+.
Love it.
So if you allow yourself to be perfection, is still 95%, because something's going to be that you can't fix it right now, or you can't do that. But if you do the 95% and try and back off that last 5%,
Right.
you can forgive yourself 5%.
And
still be
95 cents,
perfect.
still an A.
Yeah.
Hey, hey.
A+.
Yeah. Great. Yes.
So, in just a short bite, how do you then hold the line? Like, I have organized every room in my house more times than I care to admit. But you can't hold the line if anybody else is living in the house without being like making that your own personal mission. Like, how does it go in there?
Right.
You know,
So, this is very, very, very common. I hear this, I deal with this all the time with my clients. When there are several bodies, people, living in a home together, you have to pick your wins. You gotta pick your battles. So maybe as a family, you agree that the kitchen, the living room will remain at 95%. We've all got to agree on that. Your room, Johnny, can look like a bomb went off, and I'm just gonna close the door because I can't want something more for somebody than they want for themselves. So sometimes, you know, your threshold and your sort of agenda isn't theirs either, as much as theirs isn't yours. So doing the best we can, pick the places that are most important to you, get buy-in, and you are in your rights to then kind of, you know, remind everybody, yo, we said 95% on these 2 common areas. That's all I'm asking people. I'm not asking, you know, for a kidney, I'm not asking for the world. So throw me a bone, right? And then, you know, and close the door and, you know, just good enough is good enough. Because we live with other people and they just all have different ideas and different habits and different thresholds and tolerances, and that's big bad life. Anyone else? Yes.
Kind of what you said kind of answers the question somewhat, but if we're all motivated and we have someone else in the home, I suppose to get them motivated, the only thing we can hope for is for them to see the improvement in what we achieve.
Thank you. Lead by example. Show them the way. Show them the better way, the promised land. Lead by example. And when they see how quickly you are able to grab your keys and go, or, you know, put your thing, you know, put the laundry in, or find the batteries when they've been going all over the house. So yeah, that's really, I mean, we can inspire, we can motivate, but we can't make them. Yeah,
I
good
have a
point.
solution. You have a trash barrel, and anything that's left out, you put in the trash barrel. So when they come for it, you say, look in the trash barrel.
Yeah, so there's you know, some tough love things. You want to make sure everybody understands the rules. Like, if this thing is languishing on my island for more than 24 hours, just be okay with the fact that the rule is it's going in, you know, it's deep 6, it's going in. You know, you just have to set the rules, set the ground rules, make sure everybody understands, because, again, you know, who's to say whose way is the best way when you're living with others? You know? We can't be too preachy or too kind of shovey of, you know, drink the Kool-Aid, drink the organizing Kool-Aid, come on. You know, you have to together kind of decide what's enough. You know, what's enough so that we're proud enough to invite people over, and that we aren't, you know, arguing every morning trying to get out the chute because you people can't find things. You know, let's just try and work and have this family function better so there's more harmony, more efficiency, more joy, more time, less stress. Sell the wins. All right, you guys have been so gracious, so awesome. I thank you so much. I hope I hear from a lot of you for the Decluttering Burst Challenge, and just always feel free to reach out if you're interested in what working with me would look like. Feel free to reach out either after this or just anytime by phone or by email. So thank you.
Thank you.